Then I found there's only one guy that waited on us. I never cast the first stone cause I know where I've been. I know you could understand why I frowned if you overstand the conditions that we're in. Out of all of them, I feel being untrue is the biggest sin. This is the beginning, it's not the ending. Christ died then he returned again, which means your mind can be resurrected. Just count your blessings, just keep stepping. Gotta look back to move forward. Reflection and direction. Reflection and direction. Reflection and direction. Reflection.
My subject today is part of a year-long subject titled "The Time and What Must Be Done." Over 48 years ago, at a time of great crisis, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper a plan that sought to address the economic plight of black people in the United States. It was presented at that time as an economic savings program or a 3-year saving plan. And it was the greatest effort in the history of black people in America to break our harmful spending habits, pool our earnings, and redirect our wealth in ways that would lead to self-sufficiency in America. The program called on not only Muslims, but all black wage earners, the poor, the middle class, and the wealthy, to make affordable contributions on a regular basis into a single national treasury. But why did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad give us this plan 48 years ago? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us that 100% inflation would come to America, totally destroying the value of the dollar. He wrote that a financial crash was on the way, more severe than the stock market crash in 1929. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, over 50 years ago, said these words, quote, "We do not believe that America will ever be able to furnish enough jobs for her own millions of unemployed, in addition to jobs for now over 40 million black people." We marched on Washington in '63, and the cry was justice and jobs. 20 years later, we marched again in recognition of the March of '63. Our cry again was justice and jobs. And right now, we're meeting together, leaders and organizations, and our cry is still the same: justice and jobs. We're begging the president, why don't you put up a jobs bill? A jobs bill, they say, will only produce 3 million jobs. But there are 15 million out of work. Who do you think will get the jobs then? You? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad foretold of the coming of this great and dreadful day, and he preached about it for nearly a half a century. But he also tried mightily to prepare us for the inevitable. He set down for us a way to overcome our terrible condition and lift ourselves into true independence and self-sufficiency. He called it Muhammad's economic blueprint. And he said that if we followed this plan, it would make us strong, firm warriors in the battle to end poverty and want in the midst of plenty. And why did he call it an economic blueprint? What is economics? And what is a blueprint? And why an economic one rather than a spiritual, social, political, or religious one? All those will play on the economic plan, the spiritual, the moral, the social, and the political. But the word economics comes from the Greek oikonomikos, denoting the science of household management. But it has come to be defined as the science of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, or the material welfare of humanity. Now, a blueprint is something defined that acts as a plan, a model, or something providing guidance, a detailed plan or program of action. So if we're finally going to get our house in order, an economic blueprint is exactly what we need. Let us look at this blueprint that will, by Allah's grace and mercy, finally end poverty and want among our people. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined some basic principles before he gave us details. Number one, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation. Do you understand that if we can work together as a group in unity, we will be more successful, more powerful, more able to do the things that as individuals working by ourselves, we have never been able to do. Two, pool your resources physically as well as financially. Stop wanton criticism of everything that is black owned and operated. Four, keep in mind that jealousy destroys from within. Fifth, observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. Now, these are things that we must do. Let's go on. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to commit to save 5 cents a day. What? What? Yes. He said if we can save just 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week for 52 weeks in the year, that would mean we would put aside $13 a year that we could save in a national savings treasury. At that time that he wrote this, we numbered 22 million people and approximately 5 million were wage earners. Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year. at the rate of 25 cents per week, it would be painless. Now wait, we just getting started. Now look, today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day. Wow. But we do it 7 days a week with the working force of 16 million. Look at this. 7 days times 1 nickel a day, 35 cents a week. Do you have it? Yes, sir. Isn't that painless? Yes, sir. You know you don't like pain. No, sir. Look at this. 52 weeks in a year, so that amounts to $18.20 per year. And if everybody in this room, everybody listening by television, everybody under the sound of my voice gave $18.20 a year, multiply that by 16 million in the working force. Now we got $291,200,000 in just 1 year. 291 million. Look at the power of pennies, nickels, and dimes if all of us did this. Can you see the picture? Look, we want to do exactly as Isaiah the prophet said. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. Don't we live in cities? Are the places where we live ruined? Are there many abandoned buildings where we live? Do you own them? Now look. That's just 291, nearly $300 million painless. Now, I'm going to show you more that we can do with the help of God. I just want you to see the picture, because once you see the picture, it's done. Now watch this. Isaiah 58:12 says that they will be the restorer of streets to dwell in. Look at the streets where we dwell. See, if we started saving money, simple little pennies, we'll show you more of what we can do. And look at this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, and to do this, we start with land. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote, the farm is the engine of our national life. Look at the disrespect you have for farmers. Oh, he's a farmer. Ain't nothing to him. He's a farmer. I beg your pardon. Doctor, you in the house? Lawyer, you in the house? Teacher, you in the house? Preacher, you in the house? Tell me something. If you don't eat well, how long will you practice law? If you don't eat well, you become the patient, doctor. So don't look down on a farmer, look up to a farmer, because today it will be us farming our own land, producing our own food that will save our lives. America is for sale, but we are not owning it. We helped build this. Our sweat and blood was used to protect it. Shouldn't we be co-owners of it? See, you got to think like that now.
That's right.
I don't want to walk streets that we don't own. Everybody can look at their community and say, this is ours. You're the only people that has a community that's owned by things and people that live outside of our community. This shows that there's something wrong with us mentally. We don't want more fiat money, we want land. Then we can buy the tools that will make us productive on the land, from which will spring all kinds of businesses that inspire entrepreneurs, not people that are begging somebody else for a job, but you're creating jobs. Then we can grow into a solid economic foundation for us, but without the land, we have no basis for real capital development. Now, I want to quickly go to how we became a nation of consumers. Did you know this is learned behavior from our experience in slavery and then the sharecropping system? But we must know our history to understand it. When most blacks emerged from slavery, most of us tried to get as far away from our former slave masters and their plantations as possible. We even set up more than 60 all-black towns where we had our own government, and began a strong tradition of do for self without the oversight of our former slave masters. And many of these 60 black towns were in Indian territories. When they saw us building 60 towns, do you know they helped to destroy all 60 of those towns? They began to set up a series of laws that came to be known as Jim Crow laws. Their purpose was to return blacks as close as possible to the state of slavery that we had previously been in, and most important, to force us back into the cotton fields to keep the cotton-based economy from collapsing. Under these wicked laws, money in the hands of blacks was treated as though it was a weapon of mass white destruction. Whites made it illegal to sell property to blacks, and blacks were forbidden by law to sell their own farm products without written permission from a Caucasian, thus criminalizing black business enterprise. We couldn't get justice in the court system because they came up with a law that said Negro testimony would not be accepted unless that testimony was verified by a white man. A white man could walk into your home, take whatever he wanted, including your cotton or corn harvest, or your daughter or your wife, and we had no legal resource. All of this was done, and it was not even considered a crime. If blacks tried to save and invest their earnings, their money could be confiscated. So under Abraham Lincoln, They established something like the Freedmen's Bureau. Notice the past participle of the verb to free. Freed man. That's not something that we did for ourselves. That's something that somebody else did for us. We never freed ourselves. We were freed by them, and therefore we still singing, we shall overcome. You're not free until you know the truth that will set you free. So, under the Freedmen's Bureau, we set up the Freedmen's Bank. Of course, all of this came from Abe Lincoln to encourage and guide the economic development of the newly emancipated slaves. It operated just 9 years, 1865 to 1874. It had 37 branches in 17 states. Black Civil War veterans, farmers, churches, charities all opened a total of 480,000 accounts with assets worth nearly $4 million. In today's currency, that would be 5.8 billion in today's dollars. Now, when blacks had that kind of money, we could buy all the land that money could buy. Then the bloodsuckers descended and drained the bank of every last penny, leaving tens of thousands of its black depositors in economic ruin. There was no deposit insurance, so we were left with an almost total distrust of the banking system. So between government trickery and the widespread cheating by retail merchants and a legal system that prohibited blacks from complaining, blacks began their so-called American citizenship, economically exploited and badly crippled. Since this is Black History Month, W.E.B. Du Bois estimated that in time from the so-called Emancipation Proclamation in 1865 to the end of the 1800s, 3/4 of the wages due to blacks, that 75 cents of every dollar, was simply stolen from us. Blacks responded to this oppression in what appeared to be a very logical way by becoming fast spenders. So the moment we got our money, we knew that if we could quickly turn our wages into some commodity, they had a better chance of seeing value for their labor. They couldn't trust banks to hold it, so every Friday we spent all our wages with the overpriced merchants who left us with nothing. We wanted to use our money wisely, but the economic and legal system punished us when we did. So our response to this wickedness was logical, but it set in motion a damaging spend-as-you-get-it mindset that continues to this very day. Our adjustment to this evil has created in us what has become a greater evil. We've become a consumer nation now where everybody else is benefiting. So instead of allowing the robbery to make us wiser in protecting our money, we allowed ourselves to become consumers all the way from then to now. They took away our savings, and now they made us give it back to them as a consumer. So today, you don't trust banks, you don't trust courts, you don't even trust yourselves. So the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, it's very hard for an economist to plan a wise program and see his plans carried out, because the so-called American Negro economics are controlled by our former slave masters and their children. The American dream is built on a black nightmare. So we ran away from economics because of all of the abuse and the barriers of the marketplace that forced us out of that realm. And every immigrant group finds a way to nuzzle into the black community to take from us whatever they need to build their communities and exalt themselves in the fabric of America. So all of them will fight against anybody who comes to us with an economic plan that would wrest control of the black dollar back into black hands. Don't you know 6 cents of every dollar we spend is all we spend with black business? And according to one study made by the Gazelle Index, if we double that to 12 cents, that alone would create nearly 600,000 additional jobs for black workers, and that would reduce the black unemployment rate by more than 3 points, from 13.8% to 10.6%. Don't tell me we don't have the power, we just have never used it wisely.
Is a leadership that will enslave you. Let me say that again. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. The prejudice against us as an African people is not because of color, it's because of our condition. If we must have justice, we must be strong. If we must be strong, we must come together. If we must come together, we can only do so through the system of organization. To fight for African redemption does not mean that you must be disloyal to any government or country wherein you were born. It is not our purpose or intention to send all black people back to Africa. No! Those of us who leave America to go settle permanently in Africa will become pioneers. Can we do it? We can do it.